Daniel Sports Central will be giving you guys our Big Ten tournament predictions for this 2023-24 season. It is conference tournament week, and today we'll be talking about the Big Ten tournament, predicting the bracket top to bottom, and giving you a quick look as to what you can expect in this year's Big Ten tournament. And this is really the one conference tournament that I can see turning into complete chaos by the end of it. And that's something that we've seen in years past with the Big Ten tournament. It's turned into something very unexpected, and some weird things happen to the Big Ten tournament. So with that, we'll be talking about it all here today. Let's get started with the first round, Maryland and Rutgers, the 12-13 matchup. Maryland's a team that's talented, but they have been disappointing this season. You got Jameer Young, who's averaging 21 a game. Both teams have lost 3 straight heading in. And we've also seen these two teams split the series. I mean, these two teams are extremely similar in their records. I mean, same conference records, same overall, losing 3 straight, split the series and that. But I do think Maryland is the better team here, and they definitely have a higher ceiling. So I do want to go with the Terps here and Jameer Young to find a way. Then you got Penn State and Michigan, 11-14 game. Michigan's just been, they've been bad this season. It has not been a good year for them. They've lost 8 straight heading into the postseason. Penn State beat Michigan in the regular season. I think they do so again. Michigan's just a lost team at this point. I just don't see them really. They just don't have much life at this point. And could they win? Yes, but I think Penn State's going to win that one. So moving on to the second round, we got Michigan State and Minnesota. This one's pretty even as well. You got two teams that have lost 4 of 5 heading into the postseason. Michigan State is probably still going to be a tournament team, but this team has been less than impressive this season, and also definitely disappointing. Minnesota's a team that's, they've been okay, but Michigan State, I do think, finds a way to win this one. This is also a team that's usually pretty successful in the Big Ten tournament. They weren't last season, but they usually are. So I do want to take Michigan State there. Then you got Maryland and Wisconsin. This one's really interesting to me, 5-12 matchup. Wisconsin's had a good season. They have lost 3 of 4 in recent times. So at this point, Wisconsin's a team that I'm a little bit concerned about for their postseason potential. They're obviously a really good team, but it's just the way they've been inconsistent later on does concern me. But Maryland on the other side, I'll say this again. We know that Maryland is a talented team. They've just had a difficult and disappointing season with close losses. And I do think if Maryland can beat Rutgers, they can catch fire and definitely make a run in this tournament. I think they beat Wisconsin here. I was second guessing myself here. I was thinking maybe I was crazy for picking Maryland here, but I don't think I am. And I feel like, we've seen crazy runs in the past few years with in recent Big Ten tournaments. You think about Ohio State last year. They were the 13 seed, and they made it all the way to the semifinals. Penn State was a 10 seed last year. They made it to the semifinals, or actually to the championship. So we have seen crazy things happen, and Maryland's definitely a team that I'd say is one to keep an eye on. Then you got Iowa and Ohio State. Ohio State's really had a resurgence the past few weeks. They've won 4 straight heading in. They've definitely been improved. Iowa's also been pretty good. They've won 4 of 6. This is a very important tournament for the Hawks because, they're kind of on the bubble right now. They're kind of on the outside of it right now, looking like the next 4 out. But I think for Ohio State, though, this is not a very good draw for Iowa. The Buckeyes have once again they've turned it on later on in this season, and I think the Buckeyes do proceed on to the quarterfinals and knock off Iowa. Then you got Penn State and Indiana. This is also one that I really went back and forth on. Both teams have been pretty good in recent years in Big Ten tournaments. So it's really a toss-up for me. Indiana's had a resurgence as well. They won 4 straight heading in. They also beat Penn State beat Indiana twice. Swept them in the regular season, so that's something to keep an eye on. But I do think IU does knock off Penn State here. They do find a way to beat Penn State at least once this season. And also for me, it's the fact that Indiana has been better down the stretch versus Penn State. So moving on to the quarterfinals, you got Michigan State and Purdue. Boilermakers obviously an incredible team. You got Edey, who's averaging 24 a game. You got Michigan State on the other side that hasn't been quite as good, kind of a disappointment. Michigan State still very talented though, and they should not be overlooked, that's for sure. I see this being a pretty close game, but I'm going to take Purdue. I just have more confidence in them to move on to the semis. And then you got Maryland and Northwestern. Maryland, the 12 seed. I still feel like Maryland is, and this is a game where I want to take Maryland, but I feel like I'd be crazy if I did. So I'm going with Northwestern here. Northwestern and Boo Boo, they have been incredible this year. They've won 4 of 6 later on in this season. They've also swept Maryland. They swept Maryland in the regular season. So I do think I'm going to go with Northwestern here, but Maryland is a team that I would not be surprised one bit. If they beat Rutgers, they can definitely catch fire and make it to the semis. But it is really tough, though. It's a very rare thing to win 3 straight games out of the first round in any conference tournament. So for Maryland, it only gets tougher as you go. So I'm taking Northwestern there to proceed on. Then you got Ohio State and Illinois. Illinois is a 2 seed. This is a really strong team. You got Shannon, who's averaging 22 a game. Illini beat Ohio State in the regular season. They've won 4 of 5. But Ohio State, something about this team and the way they've come around later on in this season is what really impresses me. They're playing at a pretty high level right now. I do want to take them to proceed on to the semis, knocking off the Illini, although Illinois is a very talented team that, despite maybe having an early out in the Big Ten tournament, they could definitely go a long ways in March Madness. Then you got Indiana and Nebraska. An incredible season for the Huskers. They've won 6 of 7 down the stretch. This is a pretty dangerous team right now. And they also swept Indiana in the regular season. No problems against the Hoosiers in either game. So I'm taking Nebraska here. The one thing that makes me hesitant about the Huskers is their struggles in recent years in the Big Ten tournament. But obviously this is a much different team this season. Nebraska is legit, that's for sure. So your semifinals, you got Purdue and Northwestern. We did see Purdue lose to Northwestern in the regular season, although the Boilers won the other game, and I do think Purdue wins this one as well. And honestly, I said this before, Maryland-Northwestern is a toss-up for me. Regardless of what happens in that Maryland-Northwestern game, if it's Purdue versus Maryland, I'd probably still take Purdue to advance on to the Big Ten championship. Then you got Ohio State and Nebraska. Ohio State, another big run for them. They had a pretty strong run last season as well in the Big Ten tournament, getting to the semifinals as the 13 seed, which is the most insane part. But it's something about Nebraska. The way this team has played later on in this season, they're a very dangerous team right now, and I see them going on to the Big Ten tournament title game. So you got Purdue and Nebraska. We saw Purdue lose to Nebraska as well this season. They were one of Purdue's 3 losses in Lincoln. But Purdue, that's the thing. I just don't know that Purdue loses to Nebraska twice. And I will say this again. That's the thing about Purdue as well that concerns me for them is they won the Big Ten tournament last season. Turns out they get to March Madness, they lose to 16 seed FDU. So that's what concerns me about Purdue. And they might not try to focus as much on winning the Big Ten title, but I will say I do think that they want to avenge an earlier loss against Nebraska, and they do beat the Huskers, which Nebraska could definitely win it all. I wouldn't be surprised one bit based on how they've been playing, but I am taking Purdue to win the Big Ten title once again, back-to-back. So with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Big Ten tournament, your champion predictions, all of that. My name is Evan. This is All Sports Central. Stay tuned for more. We'll catch you on the next one.